one of the first people in the entire EV ecosystem in India to believe that EVs are the future. And more than probably 5 to 6,000 EVs, carried out our operations in more than 15 plus states across India. Cost more than 25 tons of CO2 savings, which is thousands of trees, which are getting, so to say, replanted. Right?
One of them has gone for an IPO as well.
Absolutely. I mean, that's so encouraging for the overall EV industry as well as for the startup ecosystem. We are seeing the impact today. When you step out today, I'm sure there are at least 4 EVs zipping by you. Either somebody is making a delivery, either somebody is going to pick up their kids, or somebody is just running late to office, right? And that's the beauty of it.
Hi Samarth. Today is a very special occasion for all of us here at Blive. It is the World EV Day. And of course, this occasion is about promoting EVs and ensuring the sustainability movement that all of us are on, right? So why don't we start off with learning more about Blive's journey and how all of this came together.
Hey, thanks, Sparsh. Great to catch up. Where do we start? 6 years back. Now that seems like a very long ago, right? And it's been a great journey, as always. Probably we were one of the first people in the entire EV ecosystem in India to believe that EVs are the future. And today we are seeing that, right? How it started was on the premise of probably these 3 pillars on which we are built. That was about building awareness around EVs, making EVs more accessible, and even today what we stand for, making EVs affordable for everyone. And like any journey, there are always, those twists and turns, but it's been a super exciting one. I think we can proudly say that we have created some real impact. We would have sold more than probably 5 to 6,000 EVs, carried out our operations in more than 15 plus states across India. Besides that, we have created an ecosystem of more than 70 plus partners, and that's not a joke.
Yeah, absolutely.
And most importantly, the environmental impact. We would have crossed more than 25 tons of CO2 savings, which is thousands of trees, which are getting, so to say, replanted.
Right.
So the impact is in multiple ways, but what we always look at, whether we are impacting the last person on the street, literally, and that's what we've been able to do. And very proudly, we've seen multiple people join us in this journey and enjoying it along with us.
Right. Great to hear that. I mean, you said, so you folks started the journey back in 2018. So it's been around 6 years now, right?
Correct.
And I remember back in 2018, I believe we had around 500 odd public charging stations in India. And probably the sales back then would have been around 50,000 or 55 odd thousand EV sales, right? And I believe the past 12 months, we have seen a major boost to EV sales, wherein the sales have touched around 1.8 million. And you have seen this entire transition, right, from 2018 to today, 2024. So would love to know or get more insights from you on what this transition has been like over the past 6 years when it comes to the Indian EV ecosystem specifically.
I think when we entered the scene, the entire industry was essentially transitioning from lead acid to lithium ion, right? That was one of the huge changes that came about in the system. And from there on, what we have seen as a very periodic way is the kind of progress the overall industry has made. And very importantly, this is one of the few industries which have seen a plethora of startups, right? People who are innovators coming and creating an impact on day one. Like today, in the top 4 brands, the top 2 brands are startups, right? They came about from where we started from.
One of them has gone for an IPO as well.
Absolutely. I mean, that's so encouraging for the overall EV industry as well as for the startup ecosystem.
Right.
And that's what gives me as a founder the confidence that we are not looking at this as a statement once again that, hey, EV is the future, this, that. We are seeing the impact today. When you step out today, I'm sure there are at least 4 EVs zipping by you. Either somebody is making a delivery, either somebody is going to pick up their kids, or somebody is just running late to office, right? And that's the beauty of it. When you see that a certain new ecosystem is part of your existing ecosystem, you see that the real-time impact is there. Also, when you look at it from, let's say, the enterprise point of view, there's been a massive amount of change and impact which people want to drive through every action that they take. And ESG goals are very, very primary for everyone. They're not just another line on the shareholders meeting or the board meetings anymore. People are held accountable. And now again, with startups also going public, the public accountability also has gone up, right? And that's where I think EVs are going to make a significant impact. The beauty of EVs is that most of the actions are completely measurable. Whether it is the carbon footprint, whether it is, the amount of, consumption which is happening on the ground, and most importantly, the savings which are taking place. India will always be driven by economics, right? And that's where we're seeing that majority of the industries are adopting to EVs because they find it much more economical. And, fuel prices are not helping in that regard.
The savings are pretty huge as well for
Absolutely,
enterprises.
absolutely. And the other part I would like to highlight is from where we were probably in 2018, 2019 to today, we are seeing a massive change in terms of the core technology itself. The way the battery cells are constituted, the way, people are already thinking about battery recycling, how battery swapping has come, significantly in the ecosystem, how we are seeing everybody right from those three-wheelers in Delhi transforming into, electric vehicles. And last and most importantly, the impact that the public policy has had. At the central level and at the state level, we are seeing significant amount of impact coming through because governments are also very seriously thinking about this, right? Smart cities have EVs as a very integral part of them, right? So all these factors, when you put them together in a cauldron and put them to a boil, we see what's happening today, and where EVs are just a norm and not just another beautiful topic for public debates.
Right. Government definitely has played a huge role in terms of ensuring EV penetration in India, right? It's very interesting that you touched upon how enterprises are slowly adopting EVs as part of your business operations, right? So we have heard about companies like Zomato, Amazon, declare that they want to electrify their fleet, go for 100% electrification by 2030, right? So this is a huge demand that we are seeing in the market right now. And interestingly, we have also seen a trend wherein a lot of EV companies are slowly focusing on the B2B segment as well, right? Transitioning from B2C. So obviously there is this huge demand that has been created, but I would say the supply hasn't really kept pace with that. So how exactly do you see Blive addressing this gap that has been created, the demand-supply gap? And how exactly do you see Blive, helping make this transition more seamless?
Sure. So, Sparsh, let me take a step back here, okay? And let me try and, paint the entire picture for you.
Right.
So that, we get a complete sense of where the current ecosystem sits and where probably the gaps are, right? We talk about two sides, which is the demand side of things and other is the supply side of things.
Right.
Before that, we look at maybe three categories, which is like the first mile, which is essentially the factory making stuff and, moving it towards its distribution chain. Then there's the mid mile, and what we are talking right now is more on the last mile, which is essentially, we see a lot of food deliveries happening, we see a lot of e-commerce deliveries, and today quick commerce is the buzzword, right? So we are seeing that there's a huge demand coming out of mobility, to support all these initiatives.
And obviously with the gig economy, it's
absolutely
grown even
absolutely
more, right?
I mean, you look at the current gig economy structure itself, right? If I have my numbers right, it's close to about 10 million gig workers which exist today. Out of that, 4 million are just working on food delivery, last mile, and all those segments. And that's supposed to grow 10x in the next 6 years. So now all these guys are going to need mobility. Now what happens is most of these guys are actually coming in from places which are, on the tertiary or the secondary side of, larger cities. and they come with, let's say, zero credit history. They come with, minimum bank balances, because they are literally, I wouldn't call them daily wage workers, but they are somebody who would earn their, livelihood through the day, right? Now, when they want to have a particular vehicle for their usage, when I say usage, it is to make those deliveries, right? They are unable to get the loans because they don't have the financial history, right? The credit history. So what do? And that is where, we felt that a huge impact could be delivered. Again, pegging it to our original, 3 pillars, which is building awareness, but also making EVs accessible and affordable to everyone, right? And we felt that this is one area which we should be, present in, and it can also deliver a huge impact, not just with the delivery agents, but also for the companies like the Zomatos and the Swiggis of the world who want to ensure that their deliveries are absolutely green, right? So what did we do? We created a simple platform, which we call Blive Easy, which essentially plugs everything right from the delivery, from the supply, from the demand to the supply. When I say demand, you look at all the food aggregators, the e-commerce, the quick commerce, everybody on the demand side of things. And the supply is essentially an exclusive set of fleet operators who offer vehicles to delivery executives or gig workers on a rental basis. What that has done is essentially created this beautiful horizontal model, as we call it, where we have easy fleet operators across the length and breadth of India who are able to, provide vehicles to each and every delivery executive who's looking for one. And a little twist that we would like to introduce, like always, is making them feel a little aspirational. So we offer some of the most premium e-scooters which are available in the market today to these gig workers on models like rent to own. So what that does is that, if you are a delivery executive or a gig worker, you feel, hey, I'm using this vehicle. It's not a rental vehicle. It's going to be my vehicle.
Got it. Yeah.
So that sense of pride and sense of belonging also comes in. And that's how we are seeing this success. Today we are already operational in 3 cities and growing. We are in Hyderabad, we are in Bangalore, and we are in Chennai. And we are seeing, demand coming from tier 1, tier 2 for folks who want to become easy fleet operators so that, they can offer these services in their particular location. So that's what it's been.
You have broken one of the biggest barriers that the Indian EV ecosystem has seen, right? Which is the high cost of EVs, right? The financing that is required for you to own an EV. So it's interesting how you folks are aiming to break those barriers. And beautiful journey that you've had so far. So, we have spoken about the past, the present. Now, taking a step ahead, speaking about the future, I would love to know what is your vision for the future of e-mobility in India, and if I had to ask specifically for Blive.
Well, I think this will consume the whole day, but I'll try to keep it short.
We have all the time in the world.
But I think, for us it has been a journey, as I said, and the journey has just about started. Today we are seeing the traction, taking place already. If you look at just the scooter space of things, 20% of the market is being garnered by electric two-wheelers, which is a great indicator where we are headed for. And on the overall scheme of things, we are seeing new products, new form factors being introduced. We're seeing that the entire delivery segment is completely being taken over by EVs, right? Which is a very clear indicator that while economics do play a role, but environment is also having a significant, space in people's mind when they're making these decisions. Besides that, when you look at it from an overall impact, I think enterprises are looking at EVs in much different forms than what we are. And I'll explain to you why. When you look at enterprise logistics, you will find them in typically 3 categories. The first one is pure goods and logistics which come about, from the first mile and second mile.
Got it.
If you looked at the EV ecosystem about 3 years back,
Right.
you did not have enough form factors to service that.
Right.
And today we are seeing trucks being charged, we are seeing buses being charged, right? And deployed rather. So that's a great indicator, and going forward, that is only going to increase. Then comes essentially the employee mobility side of things. You have large organizations which have got lakhs of employees moving about either within the city or intra-city. Now that's another segment that EVs can directly and significantly impact, right? Bringing the kind of, change in what we've seen in employee logistics for probably the last 30, 40 years.
Right.
And as I mentioned, right, with EVs, everything is trackable, everything is traceable, which makes it even more easier for these enterprises to have this beautiful dashboard in front of them where they can see what is the impact their actions are bringing, both from an economics point of view as well as from an environment point of view.
Right.
And lastly, we have, I think, seen the writing on the wall. Quick commerce is going to be probably the biggest thing that's going to happen to India for the next 5 to 6 years.
Absolutely.
With that happening, what will be created are these dark stores across your neighborhoods across India. What it also means is that they will have significant number of EVs which will be deployed around these dark stores, which again means a huge amount of volume of EVs which will be deployed, and also different form factors. It could be EV 3-wheelers, it could be EV 2-wheelers, just about everything. And for us, when we look at it from a Blive point of view, we want to go and, basically impact all these lines of, work for an enterprise. We want to be that one single platform where a corporate or an enterprise comes to and say, hey, look at this area of our logistic, help us solve it through electric vehicles. And that's what we do, offer EVs in a large set of EVs as a choice, offer finance, insurance, charging solutions, after-sales service, roadside assistance, you name it, and the entire EV life cycle is taken care of by the Blive platform. And that's what we are
sticking true to the 3 A's that you mentioned
Absolutely.
at the beginning of the conversation,
All the time.
right?
All the
Got
time.
it. It would be very interesting to see where the entire Indian EV ecosystem is headed, and obviously along with that, your journey as well. So as we come close to the end of our segment, would love to know your parting thoughts and what message would you like to give our viewers on World EV Day?
I mean, this is one of those most important days, at least for an organization like Blive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because this is what we stand for. This is what we have, always vouched for and cheered for. And I always say this, right? A lot of times in multiple conversations, people ask, okay, who's your competition in the EV space? And my typical reply is that, I think we are all builders and we are building something impactful. Unlike other industries, we don't look at each other as competition, but we are each other's biggest supporters and cheerleaders. And I think that's what's made this journey also beautiful, because building, as I mentioned earlier, an ecosystem of more than 70 plus partners would not have been possible if everybody didn't want to get together.
Have each other's back.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's something which is very integral, because unlike, other parts of the automotive industry, I personally feel that EV as an industry is a very ecosystem driven play, right? I mean, a vehicle cannot live without charging, a vehicle cannot live without, after sales support or roadside assistance, and so many other factors which come about, right? To enable a sale, you need very strong EV finance partners. So everybody is kind of very strongly intertwined to make this a huge success, right? And I think that's where we have been able to contribute massively, bringing everybody together and solving a problem at the end of the day. And the mission continues, the journey continues. We'll try and make EVs more accessible, make them more affordable, and ensure that the impact is not very singular, but it is wider across, the entire category. So that's where we are. Easy as a platform will grow. It will show enterprises, what kind of impact their actions towards logistics and mobility is bringing for them. It will show manufacturers how they have been able to contribute towards the larger, delivery system or the logistics systems across India, and also help them gain some feedback about their vehicles.
Right.
So it becomes a, very mutually respected relationship from that point of view. We want to integrate more and more finance organizations into the ecosystem so that, there are more options available to people. Unique models, as I mentioned, like a rent to own, lease to own, a buyback, assured buyback. All these things will ensure that whatever are those little doubts that any user would have when it comes to EVs keeps getting lowered inch by inch, right? So it's a journey, and this is a great day to acknowledge that for the entire industry, that we are on a mission, and we will ensure that, we are on on the government's report card, it has mentioned 30% by 2030, right? Our mission is 50% by 2030. So
great to hear that. Would love to revisit this conversation a year down the road on the next World EV Day and see what the progress has been. Thank you so much, Samarth, for this conversation. Wonderful insights, as usual.
Pleasure chatting with you.
Yeah, same.